Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today is another LEGO Weekly Top 10 MOCs of the Week episode where we show you guys the coolest custom creations we happen to see people building in LEGO bricks throughout this last week. As always, there's a lot of really great creations. Links to everybody's Flickr that I show in this episode are in the description below, plus a bunch more that I just don't have time to talk about. Before I get into the first model of the week, the build that went up in our instructions web store is the minifigure scale Ywing, designed by Jarek. It's got a ton of amazing details. Truly an incredible ship. I highly recommend you click the link in the description below if you want to learn more. Check out our video that we made on it. And yes, it does scale with the rest of the other Star Wars ships. Now let's jump into the first build of the week. This is just a feel-good one. I'm actually listening to a bit of hip-hop as I record this, so it feels pretty appropriate to be the first one. This is the Hip Hop Flower, that's the official title, by Jens Ohrndorf. At first glance, this thing might look like a very simple build. At least the building techniques don't look particularly difficult, but there is a very keen sense of style here. Some wonderful shapes, especially I like that build for the potted plant at the bottom. And to me, it feels like it took a lot of expertise and experience to make a concept like this look so effortless. It really does feel simple, and it's just a lot of fun. Now moving on to the next model, this is a very complex one. At first I thought it was just digital, but no, it's just some incredibly well-lit and well-rendered shots. This is the USS Jefferies by Ben Smith. The Star Trek influences can be seen quite clearly, though I don't believe this is based on any specific ship from any of the universes. In particular, I think the build for the saucer in the front looks awesome. The overlaying panel details make it look incredibly smooth. The angled wings that push forward and also get thinner as they reach the nacelles shows an extremely high degree of competence when working with bricks. And by the way, he lit this whole thing as well. I have no doubt this was one incredibly big engineering feat, and that effort did not go to waste. It looks absolutely awesome. If you're counting down, we are at number 8. We've got another brick-built figure from Djokson. This is called VectroCo Smiley. Now, in general, there aren't that many pieces that went into this build, and the connections don't look necessarily complex or difficult, but what really grabs me here is the personality. The stance feels very lifelike, and the somewhat muted expression just sort of fits for this character. The ears are kind of cute, and you also get a wonderful sense of scale with the brick-built pencil and USB cord. And yes, those are also brick-built. They're not just holding onto a regular pencil and USB. Bricks never cease to amaze me as to how expressive they can become. This is a wonderful example. And then number 7. Number 7 is interesting. I actually noticed this a little bit later, but I think there is some cheating that's gone in here to get some of the shapes. But this micro build just has such a distinct sense of style that I couldn't avoid it. This is from Elspeth de Montes, and the title officially is Good Morning Moneypenny. So, of course, picking up on that cue, that's got to be Bond standing there with Moneypenny at the desk, and the angular style here just works for me. I'm not going to focus too much on some of the build designs because I have looked closely, and it really does feel like some of the pieces here have been glued. That's a personal choice that we don't make here in the studio, but then again, I could be wrong. I honestly am still a little bit unsure. Anyways, it's a really fun looking build. I'm kind of jumping through these models sort of quickly, but we're moving on to the next one. Number 6 is another brick-built figure, a little bit more ominous, officially titled Night Sky Colossus by the designer VB. I'm getting some Miyazaki vibes here. No Face comes to mind, as well as the Nightwalker, sort of, but ultimately this is just a creature that is unique in and of itself. I don't believe this is based off of any pre-existing IP. I'm a big fan of using those shin pieces to make the larger, longer trap muscles that arc up towards the neck. Makes for this creature to look very agile, probably strong, and just a little bit less human-like, with some of the other parts of the body being a little bit more elongated, like the arms and the broken back ankles for the legs. Everything contrasts incredibly well with the white head and single eye, and at the end of the day, this build really feels like it's staring straight at you. Certainly gives me the creeps, just a little bit. Number 5, now moving down, is a very large build, technically scaled at a relatively small, almost micro scale. You can see the size of those palm trees at the bottom. It's called The Grove at Grand Bay by Lego Fjotten. According to the description, this is the second exhibition at the Danish Architecture Center in Copenhagen, and I believe this is indeed a build based off of a real set of towers for luxury condos. They cleverly twist upwards towards the air, and I'm a little bit curious as to how the designer did that. It almost feels like each level is actually not studded in, but instead there's some tile smooth surfaces for each layer to just slightly rest a little bit twisted on top of the other one. I suppose that makes this thing pretty easy to transport. It's probably not too difficult to set this thing up and down, but I can't just focus on the buildings. The twisting garden grove at the bottom looks very inviting, and the sloping white walls has a certain distinct and very modern kind of feel. Sorry, I don't have much of a vocabulary for architecture design. I know there's a whole world of that out there, but this, along with the lights that really bring up the interior, makes this model feel very complete indeed. Number 4 is a Nobu Terry design. It is called Japanese Elementary School Student. Oh, the trials and tribulations of adolescence. This kid looks like he's having, or she's having, a very, very rough day, perhaps a very tired morning, or maybe being exhausted from the end of the day. You tell me. I don't know if they're going to or from school. Either way, they're not having the greatest time. The printed on Mixel eyes are very appropriate. I like the teeth with the 2 at the bottom missing, and the simplistic build style certainly works. It almost feels like an animated cartoon character. You don't necessarily need those old Bionicle pieces to get interesting shapes or very creative, expressive characters, and I'm sure this build was a lot of fun for the designer to put together. Now, this is a great build. I'm so glad that somebody decided to recreate this scene from Jurassic Park and also do such a good job. It's a small vignette called Dig Site by Jonas Kramm. I don't believe this is the opening scene of the movie, but instead the second scene after somebody had to shoot a velociraptor. Now we're looking at the fossilized remains that are being dug up by both the doctors. The scene is wonderful. You can see a little bit of the desert shrubbery around the edges. There's that interesting sonographic machine that you put a little shotgun shell into, and it kind of shoots into the ground. You get the sound waves to bounce off back at you. You can see a small hammer, bucket of sand. They both have paintbrushes brushing away some of the sand away from the skeleton. Grant's raptor claw is sitting on the desk, and there's also a mug with straw and that weird build for a computer. There's a lot of very specific details, even the thermos and stuff like that. I think this guy really paid attention to all the small background details from the scene, probably rewatching it or pausing in several places, because it does feel like they've gone in and gotten everything. Excellent design for the overall shape of the skeleton, preserved in the sand as well, and it feels good to see such a nice scene honored so well in Lego bricks. We're moving on to the last 2. This one here, I almost thought I'd seen before, or maybe I'd seen this in a dream or something. I feel like this is oddly familiar to me. It is called The Caretaker by Patrick Biggs. If I'm not mistaken, this is a centaur. It looks something like a centaur, though some of these angles are oddly elongated, and the figure itself is monochrome, completely black, of course, minus the white skull and the growing, vibrant, flowering vines. The shin pieces upside down on the bottom, showing off the hooves right there. That should be the knee piece of a shadow trooper. That is amazing. I love that detail. The shoulder pauldron pieces as well, rounding off the top of all the legs, looks great. You can even see a bit of rib detailing or abdomen detailing with all types of connections moving perpendicular to the spine. And then artistically, the contrast of this brick-built skull on the top with the flowers and these odd-looking shapes for lanterns over the shoulder just really dig into you. It's crazy to think that these are just Lego bricks. There's something that truly grabs me, and it's such an expressive and elusive character. Awesome job. And let's end it off with a very colorful build, somewhat simple, at least it looks like that on the main shape of the outside. It's a very, very large build, base measurement being 80 by 64 studs. And then I don't know for sure, but doesn't it look like that claw can actually operate? H.Y. Lund does not confirm whether or not this is an operating mechanism, but I'm just gonna pretend that it is, and that those controls in the front can actually move around the crane and you can grab some candy. Just recently discovered this builder this week. There's some amazing creations that can be found at the Flickr, and that's a good place to start by saying that you can indeed check out the Flickrs to everybody that I have shown on this episode and more, all the other pictures that are flashing by the screen right now. Let me know which build you thought was your favorite, maybe something that I didn't actually feature for this week. If you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault. Hey everybody, we just wanted to pop in very quickly, let you guys know that we've got ourselves a LEGO web store. That's www.brickvault.toys, where the instructions for these incredibly high quality MOCs are being sold in PDF format. The revenue from the web store helps support us here at the channel, as well as the designers who help make these awesome MOCs. So thanks again for watching, everybody. That is www.brickvault.toys, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.